In this example, we want to insert a user form where we can insert a number, and that number of spreadsheets will be created. So first we need to go to the code and insert the user form. So I've already inserted the blank user form there. Then you insert the text box, which I've already done. So then remember, a text box always needs to go to a specific location, which is better if you make it a defined range. So I'm going to call that sheet number. So then we can go back to the code and we link this to sheet number. So every time we click there, it will obviously do that. So then we can just put in a button that says create, and then we also need a button that says delete. So the best way to get the code is just by recording a macro. So let's go do one. We record a basic macro, then we just add a few sheets, and then we can just delete the sheets. So let's stop it and go see how that looks. So that will be in modules. So let's go see how that works. So the active sheet currently, because we're doing, well, we are going to do that. Let's go do it quickly. If we insert a button there, we'd say new. So every time we click that button, the user form 1 should be shown. So this user form will always be done in sheet 1. So that will allow us to do this. Because we know that sheet 1 will now be our active sheet, we can say, just add a sheet every time after the sheet. So if we do this, let's just go to this, we say create. So every time we click that button, a sheet will be done. But what's the trick here? We need to do a loop, because we need to add sheets the same amount of time this is done. So what is the range that we've defined called sheet number? So the number of sheets will be there. So if the loop is more than that, then it must stop. So again, we need to declare a variable. So then we need to say if ABC is more than my range, then we must stop the loop. So a loop must always end. Then we can say ABC plus 1. So the first time it will do it, it will basically add one sheet, and then every time there's a number there, it will just add more. So let's go see how that works. Just always remember, the best way to test your code is just go run it. So we click the button, it opens up this user form. We're going to say 5. Let's say create. So there we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I say that again, then another 5 sheets will be created. So we can close that. So there we are. So if we go to sheet, so there we are. So let's even be a bit more smarter. So what we can do here, we can run this. When we're done, we can say user form 1 height. Then we can say message box. So we can say range sheet number. So that will show us the sheet number, the amount of sheets that we created. So let's say it's 5. We can say that number of sheets created. So let's go test that. So I'm going to say button 1 create. It's not working. Let's go see why. So we're saying hide user form 1. So why is it not hiding user form 1? Because I've got a spelling mistake. So spelling is very important. Let's say button 1 create, 1 sheet created. So obviously we just need a space there, and then it will work perfectly. So how do you delete this? So let's go back to our module, because we did it in the beginning. We said sheet array, so we just selected all those sheets and we deleted it. So we say active windows, selected sheets. So let's see if we can. So it's the same as the sheet add, it just says delete. So let's go see if we can do our own one. So we can do the same code here. Let's just copy that code. So again, the amount of sheets that's there is very important now, because this code will just be sheet delete. So every time it runs it will delete a sheet. But we need to know how many sheets there are. So what's the best way to find out how to do it? Let's test it. So we can change this to not be one, but say sheet count. That's an application which will basically count the number of sheets that we've got. So it will then run the same amount of time, but we can't delete all the sheets. We need to just delete one. So I'm going to say it should run it that amount of sheets minus 1. So let's go test this out. So if I click on button, delete, so it's not working. So let's go see why it's not working. So what does delete do? So delete goes to ABC and it says sheet count. So remember I told you to do the debugging. So let's go do debugging here. So I'm going to say message box is equal to ABC. Just before we even do the loop. So let's go test that. So we say delete. So that's 12. I'm just going to manually delete a few sheets just to make it a bit more manageable. So we've got 4 sheets we need to delete. So I'm going to say delete. So there is 4 sheets. So it means that our loop is correct. Just want to delete this message box. So just before we start the loop, everything is fine. So it seems that there's something wrong with our loop. So what are we saying here? We're saying do this until ABC is more than the range sheet number. So we can't do that because now it's using the previous code. So how should we do this now? So we need to run this loop actually exactly the same time as the number of sheets. So we've declared the wrong variable here. So let's make another one that says ABCD. We make that one 1 again. So we want to say if ABCD is more than ABC. So ABC is 1, so every time it run it, so it's actually the other way around. Well, the best way to find out is just to go run it. So we just do that, say delete. So that doesn't work. So again, let's go do some debugging. So again, the best way to do debugging is with a message box. So I'm just going to add to this message box, I'm just going to add a space in between, and then I'm going to say ABCD. Because it's not even running one time, because if it did run one time, it will delete one sheet. So let's go back. Say button 1, delete. So it's 1 and 4. So 4 times is the number of sheets there are. 1 time is the loop. So let's just say end. Let's go see what happens. So first we're saying that this should be 1, which is correct. Then we're saying this should be 4, which is also correct. So we know that our debugging is working perfectly. Then we're saying if ABC is more than ABCD. So once we start this is if 1 is more than 4. It should do it until it's more than 4. So at this stage it's not. So it should run this. So we're saying sheets delete. That doesn't mean anything. Let's go see how our previous code looked. We're saying selected sheets delete. So we need to actually select a specific sheet to delete because it doesn't know which sheet to delete. So I'm just going to say sheet 2 delete. Let's go test this now. So we know that our loop works because we've tested it and we've even debugged it. Go to button and say delete. So we know it's still correct. And say 4. You can't undo deleting sheets. So let's say delete. So you see every time we're doing it, it will actually delete some sheets. So it's worked. So let's test it again. So if I add some sheets there, saying delete. So that's a nice one to do. Let's go add some sheets again. So we want to add 10 sheets. There we are. 10 sheets created. So if I go back there, I want to delete all of them. 1 to 10. And there we go. It's all deleted. So that is how you can add and delete sheets, but also I've shown you now how to do debugging, because debugging is a very important principle when doing coding.